is a single issue or a single event that red-pilled more people in the last 3 years than the Black Lives Matter riots in the name of George Floyd, I don't know what it is. I don't know if we have numbers on how many Democrats converted to Republican voters because of those George Floyd Black Lives Matter riots, but those numbers have to be astronomical. Astronomical. And the left is trying to do this again. They have canonized their next martyr. The man's name is Jordan Neely. It's a very sad story, a very tragic story, actually. It happened in New York City on the subway. Jordan Neely, the left right now in the mainstream media are calling him unhoused. That's the newest name for homeless. I reject the term homeless and unhoused I reject the premise of this. People that are homeless, people that we think of as homeless are homeless because they are severely mentally ill and or addicted to drugs. They could have a home if they wanted. Maybe not own a home at this moment, but there's plenty of places of shelter where they could live. They choose not to because they're severely mentally ill and oftentimes addicted to drugs or both. Jordan Neely certainly fits this profile. Severely mentally ill. I don't know the profile of whether he's addicted to drugs, but his behavior would suggest that he was. On the subway in New York City, he got into an altercation with a former Marine Corps veteran. And in the course of this altercation, Jordan Neely died. He lost his life. Here's the thing. We don't know the details of exactly what happened yet. We don't know what Jordan Neely was doing, what he was saying, what he was threatening. We don't know the reaction of this Marine Corps veteran. We don't know if he was threatened. We don't know if he did something, used excessive force on Jordan Neely. We just don't know. So the left telling you that this is a case of a white Marine Corps veteran murdering an innocent black man on the subway, you can tell right from the outset that that's a false narrative because we just don't know. The white Marine Corps veteran, we don't know his name yet, was released by police. Police did not think that they had a case, so there's obviously some evidence that exonerates this man. It wasn't just a brutal chokehold in the subway, like all the headlines are saying. But what the mainstream media is doing, what the left is doing right now, is they are deliberately fomenting racial divide in our nation exactly the same way that they did after the death of George Floyd. And they are deliberately ignoring, again, this is their playbook. They mastered it with George Floyd. They're simply applying it again now to Jordan Neely. They are ignoring the history, the criminal history, and the behavior of Jordan Neely that led to this altercation in the first place. So we're going to talk about this big picture. We're going to talk about this politically. We're going to talk about this criminally. And we're going to talk about the media coverage. What actually happened that led to this death? Is it a racially charged murder the way the left is saying? And if not, then what's the real story? Okay, so I got to tell you, when I first saw these headlines about Jordan Neely, the headlines are exactly what you would expect from the mainstream media. Black man dies in chokehold at the hands of a white man, a Marine Corps veteran. And those headlines are brutal. Those headlines make you think, gosh, if this really happened, if it was an innocent black man and a white man just murdered him, that's horrible. It's horrible no matter what skin color either of the people are, if that's the facts of the case. But of course, the mainstream media has lost your trust. They've lost my trust. Everybody should distrust them at this point because they deliberately misrepresent reality in order to serve their political agenda. So what I did today, when I started reading more in depth about this circumstance, this tragedy that happened in the New York City subway, I realized that no, they were not portraying this accurately. And I'd like to share with you a little bit of what I found. So first of all, the left's strategy of portraying this as a racially motivated hate crime, the targeted murder of a black man at the hands of a white man, is already effective. We'll talk about what their motivation for doing this is in a couple minutes, but it's already effective in the sense that you can see this video. This is a video of the New York City subway, and there are protesters who are protesting the death of Jordan Neely. They are gathered together. You can see it. They're gathered together, tons and tons of them. And if this reminds you of the very beginnings of what happened after the death of George Floyd, then yes, you would be correct. This is what it looks like. They're yelling for justice. They're yelling for racial justice. They're yelling against white people. And perhaps it's no surprise that who killed Jordan Neely is the question. Because the name of this person has not been released, perhaps fairly at this point, because there's no charges that have been brought against the person. So why should this person be subjected to the leftist rage mob? I would argue that given the bloodlust that we've seen in the Black Lives Matter movement, that an innocent person shouldn't have their name splashed all over unless and until they've been proven guilty, or at least until charges have been brought against them, right? Until charges have been brought against them, you can shield the privacy of this individual. Maybe that's not the point right now. Black Lives Matter, the left, have designated Jordan Neely as their next racial martyr. They have decided they're going to canonize this criminal into a saint in order to push their political agenda. So this is a photo of the death of Jordan Neely. This is you can see what the guy looks like. I'm sure we're gonna find his name out pretty soon. This is the chokehold during which Jordan Neely stopped breathing and ultimately lost his life. Again, sounds bad, certainly a tragedy when anybody loses their life, but what were the circumstances? What were the actions? What was happening in the lead up to this? That's the most important part of this story, and nobody on the left even cares. Nobody's even asking this question. Like, did Jordan Neely attack this guy? Was he threatening to kill him? Was he doing something to harm someone else, or was he on his way to harming someone else? If you don't ask that question, if that's not the first question out your mouth, then you're not a journalist for one thing, but you are using the death of this man to further your political agenda. Instead, what the left is doing is they are portraying Jordan Neely as not just a martyr, but they're portraying him as a likable performance. A likable performer. He just loved to dance and sing for people. That's how the left is eulogizing Jordan Neely. In fact, this video has gone around multiple times. He used to perform on the subway, impersonating Michael Jackson. You can see he's actually quite good at it. And they're making it seem like this is what he was doing when he entered this altercation, or when he had this confrontation with this Marine Corps veteran. There's no evidence that this is what he was doing. That seems fairly harmless, a little showboating on the subway. It's a weird thing to do, but it's not inherently harmless. What the left isn't telling you is who Jordan Neely is. They want to know who the Marine Corps veteran is, but who is Jordan Neely? Well, Jordan Neely had been arrested 44 times by the New York City police. 44 times he'd been arrested. This guy was a frequent flyer with the police. He actually had an outstanding warrant for felony assault. But the police in New York weren't doing their due diligence. They weren't serving this arrest warrant. No. He was walking free, even though he was clearly severely mentally ill, and he had been arrested 44 different times. ABC, by the way, this is not just hearsay. ABC reports he'd been arrested more than 40 times in the subway for crimes like public lewdness and assaulting a senior citizen. According to sources, witnesses to his final moments told police that Neely was erratic and hostile. According to other sources, Neely was actually yelling, "I'm ready to die." You've heard before about suicide by cop, right? Where individuals who want to die also want their death politicized, and so they do something aggressive to provoke police to shoot them. Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.